presented a basic framework of the Indian financial system with its components. I told you that a financial system is a sum total of the markets, institutions, services that are offered to act as a bridge between the surplus units of the economy and the deficit units of the economy. So, a financial system basically facilitates the movement of the funds from the lenders to the borrowers. Now, moving ahead, we will first have an overview of all these components here, which we will then be doing in detail in the coming unit, and then we be evaluating, analyzing the role of the regulators, SEBI and RBI, who act as the watchdog of the Indian financial system. So let's quickly move through the concepts. First and foremost component, very important component of the financial system is the financial market. So market in simplest way we define as any platform where the buyers and sellers meet each other. So a financial market is a platform where the buyers and sellers of financial instruments meet each other and they are able to enter in financial transactions. Now financial markets, they facilitate the enable the purchase and sale of financial assets, and they act as a barometer of the growth of any economy. Now, barometer is a measuring device. What does barometer measure? What does barometer measure? Can anyone tell me? Wind speed. Not exactly speed. Yugal, you're close. Yes, it
Pressure
measure,
levels.
या एटमॉस्फेरिक प्रेशर को मेजर करता है बैरोमीटर. हम फाइनेंशियल मार्केट्स को लिटरल सेंस में बैरोमीटर इसलिए बोलते हैं बिकॉज इट इज ऑल्सो मेजरिंग how well the economy is performing. So when you get good estimates about your GDP, it is reflected in the financial markets. Immediately you see an upswing in the market. On the other hand, when something, say, related to unemployment comes out and there are some alarming figures there, your markets will dip. So, financial markets are a true reflection of what is the financial health of the economy. Now, financial markets can be categorized on multiple bases. They deal both in assets and debt instruments. Like the financial system, there are number of functions of financial markets, and if you see, more or less जो functions हैं हर component के, they are same as the overall function of the financial system. So, like the financial system, financial markets are also enabling the movement of funds and are linking the borrowers and lenders in the economy. Next thing, through the forces of demand and supply, the prices of assets are determined. So, a market enables the price determination, coordination and provision of information. So the participants in the market are given access to a lot of information, and not only that, many awareness programs are also run by the regulators, like SEBI from time to time is informing the prospective investors and the investors that जो सबसे ज़्यादा हम सुनते हैं, रेडियो एड्स भी आते हैं, म्यूचुअल फंड्स और टेलीविजन एड्स के थ्रू दे आर रनिंग अवेयरनेस campaigns that mutual funds are subject to market risk. So, this is a kind of awareness program that has been run by the regulator to inform the investors and the potential investors about the risk of investing. Many such awareness campaigns are run by RBI also, जहाँ पे basic financial literacy impart होती है. So all this is again a very important function of the financial markets. Next is risk sharing. Risk sharing obviously is happening when you are purchasing the financial assets, or especially when you are going for derivative instruments, जहाँ पर आप अपना रिस्क मिनिमाइज करने की कोशिश करते हो, वहां पर बायर और सेलर में रिस्क शेयर हो जाता है. तो अब जो निटी ग्रिटीज हैं कि ये डेरिवेटिव इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स कैसे वर्क करते हैं, एंड how is the buyer minimizing the loss while keeping open the option of earning unlimited profit, that will be seen in the subsequent units. But for the time being, one of the most important tools of hedging the risk of is usage of derivatives to help in hedging the risk. Moving further, liquidity is enhanced wherever you have formal financial markets. It is very easy to convert your investment into cash. Efficiency has also increased over the years with the reduction in the transaction cost, in the brokerage cost. Coming to the classification, so I told you there are multiple bases on which we can classify the financial markets. First and foremost is on the basis of the type of financial claim. So now when you are claiming the ownership of a firm, you move to the uh, equity market, the stock market, and one when you are part, or you are claiming the so you are claiming to be a creditor to a firm, you are basically dealing in the debt market, in the debt instruments. तो सिंपल सिंपल टर्म्स में इक्विटी मार्केट जो आपकी स्टॉक मार्केट है, दैट इज फॉर इक्विटी इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स, और जो आपकी डेट मार्केट है, दैट इज फॉर क्रेडिट इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स, फॉर डेट इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स. Then on the basis of maturity of claims, so any market which has assets with a maturity less than 1 year, the market which is dealing in assets with a maturity less than 1 year is known as the money market. So your commercial papers, certificate of deposit, and your repo rates, all these are integral part of the money market. Money market also sees a lot of institutional participation as compared to the retail participation, because it is the banks and financial institutions that are more active in the money market. On the other hand, capital market deals in instruments which have a maturity more than 1 year. It again entails both the equity market and the debt segment of the market. And as compared to money market, you see a lot of retail participation in the capital markets. Classification on the basis of seasoning of claim. Seasoning of claim basically means whether the funds are being raised for the first time, or this is subsequent movement of the securities. So you already know that primary markets are markets where the funds are being raised for the first time by the issuance of new securities. So the firm is going public, and it is dealing in new securities, issuing new securities. Secondary market is when the already issued securities are traded further. Then that market in which this subsequent trading is taking place is known as the secondary market. On the basis of structure or arrangement, on the basis of formalization, you have organized or unorganized markets. Organized markets, they fall under the purview of the market regulators. Unorganized markets are risky to deal in, and there is an absence of regulation there. So the risk is very, very high. On the basis of timing of delivery, you have the spot market and you have the forward market. So spot market is where the delivery of the financial assets is made in T plus 2 days. On the other hand, any market which gives you the option of settlement in a time period which is more than T plus 2 days. So that market is known as the forward market or the future market. So again, derivative market होती है. Derivative market आपको ऑप्शन देती है कि आप अपना जो एसेट है वो परचेज या सेल कर सकते हो इन द कमिंग फ्यूचर विच इज मोर देन T plus 2 days. So the remaining markets are the foreign exchange market in terms of the volume of trade. Foreign exchange market is the biggest market in the world, and it is again a 24 into 7 market, and you have bigger players participating in the foreign exchange market. Everything is through your online system. You have softwares there जो आपको फाइनेंशियल ट्रांजैक्शन सेटल करने की भी लाइक योर नॉर्मल मार्केट्स जो भी आपकी अब फाइनेंशियल मार्केट्स हैं दोज आर ऑपरेटिंग ऑनलाइन and you in the foreign exchange market you are dealing in multiple securities दो जो ज़्यादा frequently traded secure वो sorry currencies हैं they give you more liquidity there. But again, in terms of the volume of trade, number of participants, depth of the market, breadth of the market. So, breadth means the number of transactions, and depth means the value of the transactions. There, number one position, numero uno, is the foreign exchange market. Coming to the derivatives market, so I'm giving you a reference of derivatives and hedging of risk again and again. When you enter into a market which is giving you the option of settling the transaction in the future, then that market is known as a derivative market. The derivative market is one of the most efficient ways of hedging your risk. Now, there are multiple investment options there. The most common being your forward or future contract and options. Now, forward contracts और swaps जो हैं वो formal system में lie नहीं करते. वहां पर रेगुलेशन मुश्किल हो जाती है आपके फ्यूचर और ऑप्शंस में इट इज मोर इजियर एंड दे एक्चुअली fall directly under the purview of the SEBI under the formal regulation system. A derivative is basically a contract that derives its value from the underlying asset. Now, literally meaning है deriving its value. That underlying asset can be equity, it can be bond, debt, it can be currency. So foreign exchange derivatives are very, very popular. You have interest rate derivatives, and then you also have commodity derivatives or more bundle of financial assets can also be um, traded in this market. Index derivatives are again very, very popular. Now, derivatives are basically used for hedging, minimizing the risk, ensuring yourself against price movements, but increasingly people use them for speculation purposes also. Now, आप क्या करते हो? You enter into a transaction today on 5th of January 2022 to buy shares of TCS after 3 months. So, your exchange of money and transfer of securities will take place in the future. You are entering into a future contract, but the rate at which, say, hypothetically 1200 per share. So, the rate at which this transaction will be settled in the future is decided today. There's no movement of money or securities, but for 3 months hence you have safeguarded yourself from any adverse price movement in the market. This is how derivative contracts work. अब अगर 3 months के बाद TCS का शेयर 1400 1500 पे ट्रेड कर रहा है, then you are in a very convenient or comfortable position. आप यही शेयर अपने बायर से परचेज करोगे फॉर 1200 rupees. On the other hand, again depending on the nature of contract, you will if there is a fall in the price of the share, then you will be purchasing this share again. अगर फ्यूचर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है तो आपको 1200 पे परचेज करना पड़ेगा. ऑप्शन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होता है तो वहां पर आप एग्जिट कर सकते हो. दो आई थिंक जो मैंने प्राइस दिया है वो टाटा स्टील से ज्यादा क्लोजर है एज कंपेयर टू टीसीएस. टीसीएस इज trading at around how much? 3800. So derivative markets give you these options and they are risky to trade in, but they are actually minimizing the risk. Obviously, if you are using it for speculation purposes, then there is a added risk involved. Okay, moving further, financial institutions. So, as told already, financial institutions again are an indirect way through which the buyers and sellers come together because of certain imperfections. Not everyone can enter the financial markets directly. तो वहां पर जब कोई इंटरमीडियरी रिक्वायर्ड होता है, the financial institutions they actually enable this linkage between surplus and deficit units and help in mobilization of savings. They are basically financial intermediaries because they act as middlemen between savers and borrowers, and they deal in multiple financial assets. So, today, financial institutions are not restricted to deposit or loans, but they are also dealing in securities. They are also dealing in insurance. Apart from that, they are also providing a number of financial advisory services. So the role and the importance of financial institution has increased considerably over the years. Now, when we categorize the financial institutions, they come under three categories. First and foremost, at the top, you have the regulatory institutions. So, RBI is one institution that falls in this category. Any other regulatory financial institution?
मैम सेबी.
सेबी आरबीआई तो सबसे कॉमन है. इसके अलावा कौन से होते हैं बेटा रेगुलेटरी इंस्टीट्यूशंस? फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस. For export import, you have Exim Bank, you have SIDBI. For the smaller banks and financial institutions, you also have NABARD for rural development. So they also act as regulators in the sense that they help in enforcement of these schemes also. So they're not only regulating the performance of, say, these small banks or small financial, micro financial institutions, but they are also helping in the implementation of government policies. Apart from regulatory institutions, one thing I would like to clear here is कि म्यूचुअल फंड्स के लिए आपका एम्फी is just a supervisor or facilitator in the mutual fund market. Otherwise, the regulator in the mutual fund market is still SEBI. AMFI is not the regulator for mutual fund market. Apart from this, अगर insurance sector की बात करें, IRDA is the regulator there. IRDA I हो गया है अब. So you have different regulators for different segments of the markets, different segments of the financial system. And then you have banks, which are further categorized into public, private, foreign, and regional rural banks. And then you have non banking financial companies, which are providing you credit, but they do not accept deposits. So here you are given the example of some other regulators like the Department of Company Affairs, Company Law Board, Department of Economic Affairs, and then banking institution. You have commercial banks, you have cooperative banks. Commercial banks further categorized into public, private, foreign and RRBs, जो आपके ग्रामीण बैंक्स होते हैं, रीजनल रूरल बैंक्स. And then you have cooperative banks and central bank, which is again a regulator. Non-banking financial companies may, as I told you, they provide credit facilities, they provide advisory services, but they do not accept deposits. So they are not helping in credit creation in the economy. And some of the major NBFCs, Muthoot Finance, Mahindra and Mahindra Financial Services, and Bajaj Finance. Then financial instruments. Again, we have covered this multiple times. You have equity based securities, you have debt based securities, and then you have certain securities which are hybrid in nature. जो भी आपके convertible debentures हैं, that give you the option of enjoying uh, the features of debt instrument, but after a point of time you also have a choice of converting these debt instruments into equity securities. So again, there you also have money market and capital market instruments, and you also have cash instruments and derivative instruments. Equity share give you claim in the ownership of the company, but last claim when the distribution of profits or winding up of the company takes place or settlement of claims is taking place. Debt instruments give you fixed income, fixed interest, priority over equity shareholders in terms of getting profit and settlement of claims, but limited uh, profit is what you get with debentures. Though obviously the interest earned on debentures is tax deductible. The interest paid on debentures is tax deductible for the company. आप डेट इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स पर जो अर्न कर रहे हो वो आपकी टैक्सेबल इनकम में ऐड होता है. Bonds and debentures are again, bonds and debentures both are debt instruments. Term is used interchangeably, but bonds are safer in the sense they are generally issued by government agencies and they carry comparatively low interest rate with higher security as compared to debentures. They are generally secured against the assets of the issuing firm, or there is always a collateral backed with the bonds, which is not the case always with the debentures. And then derivatives are again very important financial instrument that is being traded, used in the market by investors and speculators. Okay, so last component, just an overview, financial services. तो जो भी बैंक्स और फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस आपको प्रोडक्ट्स और सर्विसेज ऑफर करते हैं, प्रोडक्ट्स आपके एसेट्स में आ जाते हैं, सर्विसेज इसके अलावा जो भी एडवाइजरी सर्विसेज हैं, जो भी factoring, leasing, and credit rating, all these are qualifying under insurance, all these come under the financial services, again helping in promoting investment, savings, minimizing the risk. So, like the financial system, markets, financial services also help the investor in maximizing the returns and enabling growth in the economy. जो भी रिक्वायरमेंट होती है सरप्लस फंड्स की, तो फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम एड करता है वो कैपिटल क्रिएशन, वो फंड जनरेशन, not only to the private players but also to the PSUs and other government entities. So this is the role played by these components, just an overview, and we cover